Tom, greetings from Marple. How are you, sir?
I'm well, James. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. As you can see today, I've got my creative hat on today.
I can't say that I hadn't noticed.
Well, Tom, I had the privilege of rehearsing with an artist on Friday night, and she was playing the keyboards and I was playing guitar. We were getting into things, and she says, "Just a second," and she runs to her closet and pulls out Mickey Mouse hats and Rasta Ganja hats and all these great things, and we put hats on. And then we start playing again, and all of a sudden, it's like the creativity just kind of blossoms and unfolds. It was great.
Well, this actually leads me to a question that I was pondering earlier. I'm
Hmm.
not kidding about this. I was pondering this.
Okay.
Why is it that we, when we put ourselves in altered states, whether it be with a drug
Hmm.
or perhaps a foppish hat, uh, it can rejuvenate us. It can give us a paradigm shift and bring creativity or mental alacrity or attention to detail or whatever thing it is that we do when we're trying to be creative.
I I agree with you 100%, and I think that's the first thing that comes up to me is writer's block or painter's block or
Yep.
inspiring blockage of the mind. And you're absolutely right. You put on something like I know when I go to teach a class, and if I sometimes I'll wear something a little bit different, and or I'll wear a Hawaiian shirt in the middle of winter, and my students just get a kick out of it. And it can be just such a subtle thing as wearing a suit to teach one day when you would dress casually or dressing down. So I don't know what it is. What do you think? Do you think our minds we just get kind of into this groove, and then it takes a little bit of jarring out of that groove in order to just kind of wake up to another thought or something like that? What do you think?
Well, I'm reminded of my sister's thesis. I told you recently I edited her thesis and she did very well.
That's right.
But a sort of a tenet of her thesis is that um, people need to play throughout their lives. It's one of the things that if we lose the ability to do this, uh, this may be the cause of a lot of pathologies, mental ones, which then I
Hmm.
suppose can become physical ones. Uh, we know that adult animals play. They always do.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I find that one of the reasons I like being around children
Hmm.
is that you can play with them.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And virtually anywhere, anytime. Children are not stuck up about things, and neither are animals, and that's why sometimes I think they're better than we are.
You know what? I couldn't agree with you more. And I know myself, it even takes a bit of a protected environment, or at least a private environment, for me to come out of my shell more.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
so, for example, when I was rehearsing with that artist and we were going over some tunes, I knew it was just her and I. We were in her apartment. It was totally cool. It was relaxed. And I think sometimes it's difficult to do that throughout the day because you have this pressure of people looking at you, and I don't know what it is. It's tough to definitely be in that to tap into that playfulness during your day or during whatever you're doing. It's tough to conjure up that feeling.
Well, I don't. I also think that we're not used to being that vulnerable in front of others. To bring out
Mhm.
the child that you always were, that part of you that's still the same thing as it was 30 years ago or however long.
Mhm.
I think this is a very secret and private place.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
need to trust the people that we play with because while playing we can be injured.
Ah, good point. Good point. Um, I take the number 10 trolley bus downtown to work every day, Monday to Friday, and I catch the bus same time, and it's usually the same people over about a year period, and then that group kind of changes up and people move on. I've been doing this for about 8 years now, and it's interesting because no one's playing, and it looks like no one's going to play. And even myself, like I get plugged into my MP3 or something, or reading my book or something like that. So it's people going into work. I think it's almost like you need to be reminded at that time some thoughts for during the day of how to uh, keep yourself propelling forward in a certain amount of responsible playfulness that can kind of inspire you and motivate you and energize you throughout the day. What do you think?
No, I'm totally with you there, and I know that you do have to be a little careful when
Mm-hmm.
you get into work about the people with whom you exchange, for example, playful dialogue, as I like to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but yes, we do need to be reminded. I hate, you know what? Nobody really wants to work. Let's face it. I mean, if we were rich, we wouldn't work. We would be sucking a drink of a coconut.
No, I disagree with you. I think you would just be choosing with full passion what your work would be. That you'd
Yes.
have that personal sovereignty. That I really am a big believer in this. That work has two definitions. One definition is work which you choose to do, and the other is work which kind of is enforced upon you, or people are constantly trying to persuade you to do. Was it Winston Churchill who said, "I love learning. I'm just not always ready to be taught."
It probably was. It sounds like something he'd say.
But
Well, it's a shame. We spend so much time at work. It's terrible to think, as I've done in the course of my varied careers, to go into work on days when you're mourning life rather than celebrating it because you're going to work. And I guess um, what if I can if when I'm capable of reminding myself of this is that if you can just celebrate your life, even when you're even when you're at work,
mhm.
even when you're walking like as we do into classes that perhaps are not ideal and perhaps there are things wrong and whatnot. The fact is, you're with one another, and there's got to be a way that you can make this interesting, at least. And
Mhm.
interesting to me implies fun, right?
Mhm.
Uh, and that means rolling up your sleeves and getting in with people and doing something together. This is not an easy thing to achieve every day, and I don't think you can, but
Mhm.
I think that people can keep playfulness in their work, and I think if they don't, I think they'll get old quickly.
Well, that's right. You know, I just the words that coming back that I hear what you're saying is celebrate life. And
Yes.
that's a great phrase. That's a great kind of maxim to go throughout the day because that's cross culture. That's cross. It just crosses all the borders. You know what I mean? It's universal.
Yes, to the point of sounding almost preposterous. But maybe it's that simple. Maybe it's just play and have fun and celebrate life and then, go and sin no more and, you know,
And here's what I would like to finish this little chat with. Is imagine if we continued maybe in our next conversation and looked at some different ways, like looked at different and modeled different types of playful dialogue and tried to map out and put some landing lights um, on a day and language so you can see where are the entrances to perhaps playful stuff so you don't have to put your foot in your mouth and do such things.
well, listen, we live in a time now when work is a very big part of our lives. People work way too hard and way too much, if you ask me. So there needs to be a paradigm shift at work, doesn't there? Work
Mm.
has to be a fun and good place that we like going, and that probably should be the most important thing about work.
Excellent. Well, let's stop here and let's just leave on that last note of celebration of life.